Good morning. My name is Dewayne Solon. As previously stated, I'm the Senior Technology Project Manager for Long Beach Unified School District. I'm a consultant to the district. I actually work for JG Management Consultants, which is a construction management firm. We are the technology division of that firm, and we are all located at Long Beach Unified, assisting them with their document control efforts and scanning and getting paperless. So I'm going to give you a brief synopsis so you guys can decide if you want to stay and listen to me babble or not. Unfortunately, I apologize for leading you on, but you're going to have to bear with me the entire time. So the rest of my team is here in support, and if you see them throwing things at me, then you'll understand how we work. Long Beach Unified School District, being a school district, is a fairly unique beast. We ventured out almost 4 years ago now, chasing a document control system. Chose Laserfiche. We'll talk about why in some of our slides. The primary focus at the time was actually our digital documents, our electronic documents, and we were looking to use Laserfiche as a file server and get all of our already electronic documents into Laserfiche. Along the way, and we'll talk about that, and we'll show you some slides, our focus shifted, our priorities changed, and we realized the need to go paperless, to start getting rid of paper. On top of our 130-year history, we are running and managing a $1.5 billion construction program. So there's a lot of construction, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of documentation. We've got about 40 to 50 consultants helping with that Measure K bond program. So we're generating a ton of paper. We're generating lots of different kinds of paper plans, large-scale documents, and just boxes and boxes. And we have some pretty pictures we'll show you here as we go along as well. So I'm going to give you our story. I'm going to talk to you guys about the challenges, both being a public entity, a school district, some of the solutions we achieved with Laserfiche, working with Laserfiche directly as well as our VAR, and kind of how we got to where we are today. And we're in a really neat place today where we're on the path to paperless. Again, with the volume that we have, that won't be actually, we won't be successfully paperless, at least not in my lifetime probably. But we're on the path, we're on the road, we're getting there. So we'll go through some slides and we'll have some conversations. As we talk, go ahead and throw up your hands, ask questions, yell things out. Only throw things if you have good aim, and we'll go along. So I want to talk about the justification. So I have a background in technology and document control. I spent 8 years with LA Unified District, as well as some of my team members here as well. So I was brought into Long Beach to do what I did in LA. There was no further goals or objectives other than that. So the very first thing I realized was that we need to get control of our documents, some content management. So I went out and had to create the justification for going to an electronic content management system. Number one issue that we had, again, our initial focus being our electronic documents, was the file server itself. Not too many of you guys are old enough in here to remember, but there was a product called Novell NetWare. Okay, we have some public agency folks here. I see you nodding your heads. So you understand the challenges. So the primary challenge with the Novell NetWare file server was character limitations. So as we're showing up here, there's a 256 character limitation in Novell NetWare, which means your entire UNC cannot be more than 256 characters. Very neat feature of Novell, when you do exceed those 256 characters, it doesn't actually tell you. It doesn't actually give you an error. It lets you save the file, and you think everything's hunky-dory. It's not until you go back and open that file that you then realize it's not there. It's been corrupted because of that character limitation. So it was a significant challenge dealing with the backlog of corrupted files, issues. So we wanted to get those into a document control system, a database-driven electronic content manager. So right here we have an example in red. That's one of our typical file names. Being a school district, being the amount of data we were dealing with the construction program, that is an actual file path. That's an actual PDF that we're showing you there, equals 237. So the second we want to add an additional folder, maybe an even longer, crazier name, we run into problems. So aside from the electronic issues we were having, the amount of paper that was there. We're going to show you some pictures here in a second, but in the $1.2 billion bond funded, it's actually 1.5, bond-funded program, there was a ton of paper being generated at the time. There was also over 100 years of existing documents, site plans, things of that nature that we had to deal with. Next slide. So here I just want to show you some examples. On your left there is our primary conference room. And believe it or not, when these pictures were taken, this is about 100% improvement. If you notice up on top of the file cabinets there, we're storing our banker boxes full of papers, full of projects. Under the table, it's hard to tell because we added this additional table, but all those banker boxes support that table. You know, a little seismic retrofitting, want to make sure that the tables don't fall over. So what did we do to store all this paper? We went and got storage containers. You know, off your container ships, it's actually a storage container. So what you're looking at on the right is one of our storage containers, and this is the type of paper we were dealing with. So this is the aisleway. To the left is about 3 more rows of boxes just like that. Some of the shorter of us, we don't let go in there because we may lose us. So, so this is just kind of an example of what we were trying to achieve. So again, on the left is a typical cubicle. That's someone's workspace. Okay, so that's where their plans went. That's where their papers went. Oh, you got more project stuff? There you go. Here's a box. So that was our filing system. On the right is another example of we weren't just dealing with 8.5 by 11 standard documents. We're dealing with plans. And if you see those rolled up, each of those plans are probably 80 to 100 pages. So we had some significant challenges, some desire to go paperless because, again, on the left is our planned storage. And when you run out of storage for your plans, you just throw some boxes on top, create another level. We are a construction program, so we build our own storage facilities here. On the right, we have these drawers all contain our 130 years worth of history. So if you ever wondered why they call them blueprints, you can come by and see. They're actually blue and printed in chalk. So not only do we have paper and large paper, we have brittle paper and we have old paper. And I think some of those were done by Moses in tablets. I'm not sure. So when we look at all that, we had to start looking at document control systems. And I know some of these are bad words in this room, but we're going to talk a little bit about them. So some of the products that I've looked at due to some of my experience in the industry, obviously number one was Laserfiche. And honestly, we looked at Laserfiche because they came up in a Google search, and I found out they were next door to us. FileNet, LA Unified School District had a very large, multi-million-dollar, unsuccessful project in converting over to FileNet. So we did look at them. SharePoint. Long Beach Unified had an existing SharePoint server that was managing student records. So I went and talked with the IT department and looked at their offering and thought maybe we could expand that to meet our needs over in facilities and maintenance. Guava Retain. Guava is a company that specializes in Novell. So they were a product we were using for our Novell group-wise email archiving. So we looked at their document control product, Retain, as well. And then LA Docs. LA Docs is a in-house written application we wrote and supported to archive documents for the LA construction program. So we looked at that as well. So why are we here? The only reason Laserfiche invited me out is because, well, we bought them. So some of the reasons why, number one was an out-of-the-box solution. With Laserfiche, I didn't have to employ developers. I didn't have to write programs and create all of these processes. They came right out of the box with Laserfiche. Cost efficient. In comparing a lot of those products, you compare them with homegrown, in-house developed tools. The cost there is great. You look at products like FileNet, which are probably 10 to 100 times the cost of Laserfiche, depending on the package size and the bells and whistles you get with it. The other selling point was they were local. Us being Long Beach Unified, Laserfiche and us created a partnership because they were local and they wanted to represent the local entities. We are a large school district. We look good on their resume, and they wanted to work with us. Me having the ability to get in my car and drive 5 minutes and go harass the developers at Laserfiche for some stuff I wanted, that was very beneficial. Squeeze them for lunch a little bit, good things that you don't get when you're, the company that you've bought the product from is, on the East Coast or somewhere not here. The other issue for us was seamless migration. And this is where we'll talk, and we did this in a very unorthodox fashion. By design, because of the ability to do a seamless migration, we wanted to trick our users. We wanted them to not feel like they were adapting to a new program. We wanted to take our network drive, shut it off, and open up Laserfiche so that we could keep and maintain the same folder structure, the same file structure. As poorly designed as it was, the seamless migration allowed us to roll our users on, shut off the network drive on a Friday, turn on Laserfiche on a Monday, and rock and roll. So once we decided Laserfiche, again, where I stated earlier, we didn't really have objectives or goals given to us by the organization, by the executive level management. We had to go and sell it to them. We had to get executive management buy-in. So part of the challenge, and all of you that were thinking, why have you been doing this for 4 years, is because at the school district, we had significant turnover at the executive director level. So in these 4 years' times, we had 3 different executive directors. So for any of you guys that have a boss and understand what that means, I had to sell this. I had to go back to the new executive director and tell them what we're doing, why Laserfiche, why we wanted to go down this path. Look around you. I can't get to your office without hurtling banker boxes. So this is why we want to do this. And then they want us to sell that to, their assistant director and some other things. So we are really good, probably better than Laserfiche at selling Laserfiche. Because of that turnover, because of those, justification procedures, we had a lot of starts and stops. So one director would go, great, go ahead and go on and do that. So we'd start it up. Hang on, new guy coming in, go tell him what you're doing. So we'd stop and do that again. Kind of different direction, different desires and different things they wanted to see. So we had a lot of starts and stops. Our current management team, thank goodness, comes to us with ECM experience. They have their own products they've used. They like Laserfiche. They like what we talk about Laserfiche and what we want to do with Laserfiche. But more importantly, they understand the methodology. They understand the things we're trying to achieve through an automated electronic process, and they're on board. So we've gone from all of this trouble, all of the selling of the system, all of the starts and stops to, well, where you at? Get your butt in gear. Let's go. Where's our Laserfiche? So those are some of the challenges we had getting started. Once we've got our executive management buying in the system, we have to also look at the district. Us being Long Beach Unified, we're a large district. We work for facilities maintenance in the construction program, but there are other entities we need to also get their buy-in. So although we had that focus for our group, facilities and maintenance, we had to go to the other departments and groups. And this was good in the selling process. And the way we developed the architecture to support the system is going over and talking to student records. Hey, is this something you would be interested in? Purchasing, is this something you would be interested in doing once we get it up and running? Do we want to, look at creating multiple repositories? As you guys know, with Laserfiche, you have the ability to run unlimited amount of servers. So based on how we designed and implemented, do we want to support other departments, other groups that would be interested in this going forward? That leverages our success and is a great benefit to the district and the taxpayers. And then there's a strong coordination with district IT. So keep in mind, although we are a technology group, we are not district IT. So when it comes to actually building the servers, we'll design them, we'll give you your architecture, but we have to go and talk to the geeks and get our servers built, give them the hardware that they put on the network and they put in place, make sure that the backups line up with their scheme, and all of these things. So we had to get all of that buy-in prior to proceeding to be able to go paperless. Once we'd gotten the buy-in that required, really important to treat this as a project and do a lot of project planning. A lot of us, our background is in project management, whether construction project management or technology project management. But if you go into this, getting to be paperless and treat it as a project, it at least proved very successful for us. Number one point I want to make in that is the team that you assembled to do this. We are a large district. We required a lot of resources to make this happen. Others can do it with fewer people, but you still want to have these designations of basically job descriptions. So I want to introduce my team right now and let you know what each of them did. Our document control manager is Gisela Stringer right here, and she owns the system. Although in fairness, this was my baby, and I started this process. Being the senior technology project manager, I also have other fish to fry. So I needed somebody to own Laserfiche. I needed somebody to own the paperless process, the electronic file process, and so we had to have a document control manager. So that is Gisela. She's involved in all aspects of what we're doing with Laserfiche. You had to have a systems administrator, and that's the server side of things. That's the database side. That's keeping your servers running, talking with your VAR and your support staff on how you want things configured, doing virtual machine snapshotting, some of that stuff. That was for you, Joe. And this role, that's me. I come out of a purely IT background. I am a system administrator by trade, so I fill that role on this team. The next thing is a business analyst. Laserfiche isn't any good if you're not talking to your business units and figuring out your workflows and your automation and what you want to provide to your user groups and your business groups. And filling that role, we have Bill Phillips, who has done that incredibly well, and that's where a lot of that support and buy-in comes from, is working with those business units. A lot of promises, a lot of hope, like, hey, we can take that manual process you have and automate it in this. So it's a very important piece of the team. Also, you need to have a content manager. One of our challenges in going paperless was the boxes that were sitting there before us. We're all within 4 to 5 years of joining the district and joining the team. There are boxes that were there 10 years ago. Where's that guy? Where's that project manager who built that school 5 years ago? We don't know. So you have to have a content manager willing to get into those boxes, willing to open it up, willing to look at them. We have a standard metadata template that's got project code and some basic stuff, but sometimes you need to know more than that. So you have to have a content manager that's willing to own the content, to learn it. And for us, that's Joy Filius. And again, Joy didn't build those schools 10 years ago, but she's responsible for knowing the content of those boxes and those reports. And then you got to have document control specialists. For us, we started a program of scanning. Once we identified these needs, actually here at a Laserfiche conference, we partnered with Epson. We got some really good equipment, and we just started scanning. We didn't necessarily know what we were doing, but we had to scan the stuff and then figure out what we're going to do with it later. The most important piece of paperless is throwing stuff away. So we did start with our document control specialists. We went out and hired 4 part-time people, had them just start scanning, and then we'll figure out and decide what we've scanned and what to do with it later. 2 of them are here today, and that's Paul Tully and Deanna Johnston, that have worked really hard on getting and going out into some of those crazy spaces you saw, grabbing those boxes, grabbing those plans, and bringing them back into our environment to do the scanning. Next slide. Oh, wait, I left one. Sorry. The district IT liaison. And again, this is fairly unique for us because we aren't IT. We need an open line of communication. We're very nimble. We're very responsive, and we want to be able to make changes on the fly. We own the servers, but we don't actually work on them. So having a district IT liaison that works with us and works with them and achieves a lot of these things for us is imperative. And for us, that's Jennifer Ferrier. and she's been a crucial part of getting paperless, getting us going to where we're going. Over there. So once you've got your team assembled, again, hopefully you've gone into this with goals and objectives, but if not, you certainly want to define them, define your goals, define your priorities. Again, when we started with Laserfiche, our priority was to replace the file system, get off of Novell, use Laserfiche as a file system. Now, we drove Laserfiche nuts with this goal and this priority because it's not a file system. They didn't want us treating it like a file system. But damn, is it not better than Novell NetWare. So it actually gave us a lot of ability to start using Laserfiche. Second priority at the time was to reduce paper. Obviously, you saw some of our challenges. You walk anywhere around our offices and you know, well, we got to reduce paper. So it was either gasoline and matches or Laserfiche. And then you want to start looking at automating your business practices. Again, public entity. We're a bit archaic in the way we do a lot of things, from routing of invoices to even just telephone memos. So all of those things we want to look at, and we want to start offering ways that we can automate our own business practices. Number one in this project planning phase that will drive you throughout it is your schedule. So I can't stress enough to establish a project schedule. Again, working with project managers to do this, we really benefited from having tasks and milestones. Some of those that are important that I just want to highlight for you guys real quick is to create your Laserfiche environment. So you want to decide how to do that. You want to work closely with a VAR, with Laserfiche directly, depending on your support channels, and you want to figure out how you're going to create your environment. Once you do that, you want to talk about migrating your existing data. So again, we were using Laserfiche as a file server, so we actually had to migrate a bunch of electronic documents that were already, Word files, PDFs, things like that, over into Laserfiche. So you want to make sure you do your OCR, and you want to have a plan to migrate your data. Then you want to create your metadata templates. Starting from scratch as we were, there's a lot of discussion, and you can get tied up with management for years on deciding what metadata you want to start with. The trick is start small. If you have a naming convention, a file naming convention, start there. That should be your first template. Have a simple metadata template, move your data over, tag it, and you're off to the races. In our case, with the limitations of the NetWare file system, just getting our data in without any metadata was a huge win because we could immediately search the content of the documents. That was something we didn't have before. That was our selling point. That's how we sold it to management. I will immediately get you the ability to search these documents. Then you want to address your user creation file security. So again, for us, in our unique environment, we were able to leverage the tools in Laserfiche to create our users and apply even better file security than we had in our existing network file system. So that was a big deal for us. It should be a consideration for anyone trying to go paperless. And then training. Training. So with us, we went back and forth. We're a bunch of geeks. We're pretty good at training. We can teach, we can teach a monkey to surf. I think we've done it, but that's another story. We elected to minimize our training into almost more of a PR campaign. Our training today with our users is telling them what Laserfiche can be, what going to paperless gets us, all of the tools that are now available to them, backed up with the promise of support. We're fairly intimate with our users. We have a strong technical staff in facilities and management, so we're afforded the luxury of hand-holding and taking care of some of our users as we go through this process. And then your go live. That's your biggest milestone. That's D-Day. That's when it all happens. For us, it truly is a cutover. We will be shutting off our file server on Friday. Monday will be Laserfiche as a file system. So with all of those things in mind, we ended up having to make paperless a priority? For several different reasons. Number one, the pictures you guys saw. Number two is with those management changes. With the new management team, you get new executive directors walk in and basically go, what are you guys doing about this? Well, we've got this toolkit. We've got this toolbox of Laserfiche. We have the ability to do that. Do you support us in staffing up and buying some scanners and setting aside some room and starting to get rid of some of this stuff? Absolutely. So going paperless then became our priority. Our go live took a back seat and our paperless took a front seat. So we actually started scanning into our production environment before we ever went live. So much so that we have not yet gone live. We're actually going live for the file system, for the electronic files in Laserfiche in the next couple of weeks, as soon as we can get our VARs out of these frickin' conferences and back to work. Love you guys. There's just a little motivation there. For us, going paperless really took precedence and was really driven by management, and so we ramped up, and we are currently scanning and getting rid of documents into our production environment prior to actually cutting it over and handing it over to our regular users for daily use. So this is that prioritization. As crazy as this looks, these are the good pictures. These are our scanning stations. We had a temporary trailer that you've all seen at school sites that was empty and used as a conference room. So I commandeered it, put up some walls, put up a couple of scanning stations. I think Epson's in the house. You can see their beautiful stuff in the background there. That we just started grabbing those boxes, taking them to these stations, and scanning them. Again, it wasn't the most organized, thoughtful process, but paperless was so important that this is how we did it. Then you have a box, you have it scanned, and you get to go to management and go, we're going to get rid of it. So the question too, how did we deal with all of those large plans? Right here. We picked up a large plotter that also has color scanning capabilities. Unfortunately for us, this literally is fed one at a time. So my poor document control specialists are required to sit there and feed these plans one at a time to this thing. So hopefully someone like Epson can come up with a better way for us to do that. Hint, hint. So that's how we are achieving some of those paperless requirements. So once we had done that, we had to start negotiating our project plan in order to go live and take advantage of the rest of Laserfiche. We had to look at our user onboarding. We had to create a different training plan because now we're scanning all of this content into Laserfiche. So now the go live changes a little bit where they're not just getting the files they're used to, the files that were on their network drive. They've now got all this additional content that used to be in boxes and trailers and containers and stuff they'd have to hunt around. So I had to tweak it a little bit. We also had to tweak a support plan. Number one, we want to support the people that do know the content, getting it into Laserfiche. So we want to offer our services. We literally go out and pick up boxes from your desk. When your cubicle looks like some of the pictures we've showed you, we'll go out and grab those boxes. Just tell us what they are. We have a neat little sheet, and it's very archaic. You fill it out with a pen, if any of you guys remember what those are. It's our metadata template. Tell us what your project code is. Tell us what the project manager is. Tell us what construction company this is tied to. Fill out as many of those boxes as you can, or none, whatever, and we'll get them in. So the support plan had to change a little bit. The new data migration, I'm going to show you that because it was unique. Because of this going paperless prioritization changed the way we had to get our data all into Laserfiche. With the electronic files, it was easy. It was a data migration. You move it, you cut over, you're done. Now we had new content, our paperless content, in the production environment of Laserfiche, and we had to now move over the current network data with it as well. So I'll just show you guys a quick diagram of how we did that. So in these boxes, as you see, we had our Laserfiche production environment and our file server production environment. So the file server production was the Novell NetWare. That's where the current data was housed. Laserfiche production is where we were scanning into. We were scanning all these documents directly into our production environment. So we had to figure out a way, how do we get that data meshed together? How do we get a proper production Laserfiche environment in order to get rid of the file server? The way we're doing that, the way we've done that is to move it into our development environment. I've talked a little bit about your Laserfiche environments, and I don't think there's a technology group out there or a VAR out there who wouldn't recommend you have both a development and a production environment. So for those of you that don't always get the importance of it, having that development environment allowed us to do this and get this done and not stop our scanning processes in order to mirror and match up data. So we moved our file server data, migrated into the development environment, then pulled across the new scanning folders directly into that. And then once we have everything the way we want it in our development environment in Laserfiche, it's simply replicating the repository over to the production environment. Then we have our new production environment. And that gentleman right back there is the one who's doing all of that for us. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, he doesn't like me much. He's always, on the other end of the line, like, what are we doing now? And that's changed about, a dozen times to get to that model. So that's why I wanted to show you that. Some of the lessons learned through this process, and again, so where we're at is that we're currently progressing with our paperless initiative. We are actively scanning. We're getting rid of those documents you've seen. Again, with the volume you saw, you understand why it won't ever be done in my lifetime. We've done it so successfully that the district is now wanting us to go out to remote sites and scan all of that paper and get rid of it. So some of the lessons learned along the way in getting to be paperless or getting to be actively going paperless. I don't know, has anyone ever actually gone paperless? I think it's always a initiative that's ongoing and always working towards that end goal. Stress testing your production environment. We were in a virtual environment, so we had the ability to throw additional resources, but you really want to push the limits. The worst thing you can do is deliver this system to your users, ask them to go paperless, and then have it suck. So can't be slow, can't hiccup, can't go down. So you really want to, in your implementation phase, as you're getting there, really do some really positive, really hard stress testing of your environment. Your VARs, Laserfiche support can work with you on any of that. And again, we talked a little bit about the use of a development environment. Can't be said enough. We've blown out our development environment about 12 times. Because we're trying different things. We're trying different OCR methods, when to OCR, what to tax, when to migrate, when to move. We didn't like that, blow it out and try something again. So it's really crucial to success to have a development environment. And then again, our phase one, paperless became a priority. The ability to identify, the ability to be adaptable and change your plan was the key to our success. We've been much more successful on the paperless path than we have on the changing server file system path. So for us, what became important, we were able to support, throw resources at, with the wonderful toolbox that is Laserfiche, we were able to make some adjustments and make that happen. So at this point, we'll open it up to Q&A, and I just want to finish real quick by saying where we're at and what we're talking about with some of the file server migrations. We're about to go live 2 weeks in. Paperless has been our success. Paperless has been the tangible goal where we're actually getting rid of documents. Again, I mentioned our success is palpable, can be felt throughout the district, and so much so that they're literally picking out sites where they've been storing documents for 50 years for us to go in and apply this process to it. A lot of that's been done due to the work of our document control specialists. Again, we started with 4 part-time people that were just feeding paper to scanners. They've really proven themselves. It's been so successful that I've just gotten the word that we will be offering these 2 document control specialist promotions to full-time consultant positions. which is a big deal to us. We want to reward that hard work, and again, this kind of started out as chasing this paperless dream, trying to figure it out and get this as a solution to our district, to our students, to our taxpayers, and start managing all of this content that we've created. Q&A, we'll start right here.
I found the architectural drawings that can be larger file sizes, and it can be a little clunky going from page to page. How do you configure your server to be as streamlined as possible?
How do we configure our server to be as streamlined as possible when scanning large format documents? Resources. I'm a hardware guy. I built very beefy, went over budget in my virtual server environment. So in our case, our current configuration is 4 processors, which are typical Intel Xeon 800s. I've assigned about 32 gigs of RAM to the production machine. We haven't proven it yet because we do only have the ability to scan one at a time, but we've had no hiccups. Our file sizes are large on those files. We also keep DWG files in Laserfiche. Although there's not much of a viewing, those are large, but we chew through them no problem. So I haven't quite had the issue, but we just throw resources at them. I know that's not a luxury everyone gets, but you know, when you go into the virtual realm, we work very closely with our VAR to be able to have that opportunity, to be able to have enough resources. I'll get right to you. We had one over here. Yes, sir. We have some unique challenges in that we are forced to keep certain things. Why do we have drawers full of drawings from 100 years ago? It's actually a state requirement. So we have basically on a construction project 5 sets of plans that have to be kept forever in hard copy. They're actually physically stamped by the state, the Department of State Architecture, architect actually. So we have to develop those retention cycles and retention plans. That's discussion with management. Fortunately, again, with the current executive management, we have the ability to start putting in retention cycles because they want to get rid of everything that we're not required by law to keep. So what we're looking at, and it hasn't been decided yet, but we're looking at about a 7-year retention cycle, and then it's gone. We will amend that come 7 years when we start looking at how often files are accessed, and we'll start tying that into our retention plan. Again, the beauty of Laserfiche is it has all those tools to build in those retention cycles to keep that. Go right back over here.
Yeah, so have you, or have you considered just bulk, you know, like hiring a firm to bulk scan a lot of this stuff for you?
We
manage it when it comes back?
We have. We've looked at that, again, being local with Laserfiche. We've looked at their AccuFlex division. They're actually our initial contact prior to my being added to the district with Laserfiche was in the capacity of bulk scanning. And it's an option, and we looked at that prior to kind of creating the scanning group we've got now. What we lose with that is the content management piece. Some of our unique challenges is that we don't always know what's in those boxes. So we can go get them digitized, pull them in. You're never going to get metadata to them. So it's a bit of a slower process, but it's a controlled process where if we, instead of paying that money, pay resources to go through those boxes, try to apply these templates to them, we'll get better data in the end result. Won't be as fast, but again, they've dealt with this for, you know, since my grandparents were around. So, so that's how we're handling that. We're going to go right here.
Do you have some IT disaster recovery plan on top of that?
One more time, IT?
IT disaster recovery. What about if you have an IT crash? Do you plan to?
Yes. Again, being a district, those aren't always the best. I come out of an enterprise IT background, and it drives me crazy. But because of the priority we're putting on the data, because of the importance we're putting on the data, we're actually revamping our disaster recovery plan. At this very moment, we are backing up to a SAN device, fast backups. We are again working with our VARs to snapshot our virtual machines as well as backing up the data. We are in discussions with how to push that data to the cloud so it doesn't reside in the server room as well. Yes, sir.
For those documents that you aren't legally required to keep in an archive, can you get any kind of pushback on destroying the documents once you scan them, and how do you address that pushback?
Brute force. Yes, we absolutely got pushback. The question is, did we get any pushback on trying to destroy documents? Yes, and you'll always get pushback. We are greatly benefiting. Why it took us 4 years to get here is because we didn't have management support. We've got our executive director, an assistant executive director who we report to, who comes out of the document control world. So she says, get rid of all of it. I don't care what they say. Here's what we're going to keep. That's it. This is what's legally binding to keep. If you scan it, get rid of the rest. And that's brand new to us. That's within the last month that track has been taken. So find an executive, butter them up, take them out, get them drunk, get them to promise to destroy documents, and you'll be on your way. Yes, sir.
Did you spend any time reviewing the content of the network servers before you all migrated everything to Laserfiche?
Did we review the content of the network servers before we migrated?
Yeah. Did you look at anything or reorganize or avoid duplication of
No. No, because that would have been smart. The truth is, we could spend a lifetime doing that, and it delays getting in a Laserfiche. So you have to do that no matter what, right? We got to look for duplicates. We got to look at where we're storing data. So do we want to do that on a 17-year-old file system or within Laserfiche? So the lesser of two evils, we migrated the data as is, duplicates and all, horrible naming convention and all, horrible folder structure and all, into Laserfiche so that our users didn't mind. So that our users turned on Laserfiche and it was exactly what their network drive was, the previous week. Then we can start dealing with all of that. So that was an option. We elected not to go that route in order to expedite getting our data into Laserfiche. Any other questions? I think they all ran out on me. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick one. Replicating the file structure, does every single user in the school district have a Laserfiche license?
No, again, with our facilities maintenance focus, our repository is dedicated only to facilities and maintenance, but primarily facilities, which is where our construction program resides. We're the ones who funded and paid for Laserfiche. Fortunately, the architecture of the district supports that, where they have local users, local mailboxes, local servers, all at the department level. So we were able to just keep that model. Laserfiche is for facilities only. We'll let a little maintenance who we work with get in there. We'll prove the model. Again, buying Laserfiche, taking on the expenditure ourselves. Now we can add accounting. Go buy the licenses. You can have one of our servers. You can have unlimited servers with Laserfiche. Build your server, put it there, put it here, buy your own licenses, and you're good to go. So that's how we dealt with that. So we only bought enough licenses for our current program and project. Yes, sir.
So no license required for your development server, your LV dev, no additional licensing from Laserfiche for that?
We are legally licensed. What the specifics of that are, I'll leave to Laserfiche.
And then you're not going to keep that, that won't stay in place, or will that?
Absolutely will stay in place.
Stay in place
Yeah.
forever?
Yes, forever. Standard system administration protocol, any application server you have a development environment so that when patches come out, all the wonderful things we've heard about Laserfiche 10, we'll put Laserfiche 10 in our development environment first, and then we'll punish it, and we'll stress test it, and we'll try to break it. And then when we can't, it goes into production.
And is the hardware the same on both the development and the production server?
We have assigned fewer resources to our development server because it's not required. If we get into an apples and oranges situation, we have the ability to add processors and memory in our virtual environment. But at this time, it is a lesser server. Yes, sir.
I heard you mention about the retention schedules earlier. When you did the mass migration,
Mm-hmm.
did you leave that out first, and you're just going to do that after everything's in Laserfiche, or
Yes.
did that come in?
We've left everything out during the migration. We didn't even apply templates. no metadata came across. The one push is OCR because we're selling it to our users that once we get this in there, you'll be able to search content. How do you get that? You got to OCR. We've worked with our VAR on moving the data over, then OCRing it on the Laserfiche side. It's just better for us to OCR it as it comes in. We've just tested that. We can do that over a weekend. We're good. So we've done absolutely nothing on purpose. Again, not the smartest plan, but it is the quickest plan. So we had to make some sacrifices. Right now, our priority, again, with all of the management changes, I better move now while they'll let me, get the data in, get my users on Laserfiche, and we'll deal with everything else. Again, we're running a skeleton crew. The team I've introduced to you is barely able to run Laserfiche as a file server and support the paperless. They're already wanting workflows. They're already wanting automation. They're already wanting metadata on all of that 2 terabytes of data we're pulling into Laserfiche. Well, let's get it all tagged. Great. So we'll have the resource question after we get into Laserfiche and then make those decisions on how we want to clean up our structure, how we want to look at the data we tag. So, any other questions, comments? Nobody threw anything at me. I can't believe that. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.